Imagine knowing exactly what your students are learning and exactly which steps you need to take next.
Join us in Down with the Reading Quiz to craft meaningful and productive formative assessments that move away from gotcha moments of basic recall and toward assessing what your students actually can do.
In this 30-minute free masterclass, we'll share 3 powerful assessment keys that work for any novel at any time of the year.
Head to shop.bravenewteaching.com/masterclass to sign up, and we'll also send you a free workbook to keep track of all your notes.
Once again, that's shop.bravenewteaching.com/masterclass to nail formative assessments forever.
Hey, Amanda.
Hey, Marie.
What are you up to later? Want to join me for happy hour?
I'm all in.
And guess what's amazing? Our listeners and friends of the podcast can also join us because Brave New Teaching Happy Hour has officially launched. Cheers!
Cheers, everyone. We are officially hanging out a little bit longer after school with an extended, extra private podcast feed just for you.
Yes. Members of Happy Hour get extra 15 minutes of the podcast, give or take, because you know us, we run a little bit long. It's just kind of how we are. But if you would like to get in on this Happy Hour action, please join us. It is only $5 a month. Head to curriculumrehab.com/happy hour and get yourself signed up, because when you're there, Amanda, tell our friends what we do every month for our Happy Hour members.
I think my favorite part is coming up with a new free resource for our listeners every month. And then we pretty much break down that resource and how to use it. We also like to have guests on to do extended episodes and even Q&A that's just for you about that resource. It's really exclusive and super private just for you.
So if you are like us and you like hanging out, you like chit-chatting about all things that are teaching, teacher life, and everything under that umbrella, join us for happy hour and we will see you there. Bye.
Bye.
Well, hello and welcome back to Brave New Teaching. And if you are listening on the day that this episode drops, happy Thanksgiving. Happy American Thanksgiving, friends. I hear myself. Different countries like Canada has Thanksgiving as well. So happy American Thanksgiving. We have a lot to be thankful for. I'm thankful for you, Amanda.
Oh, I'm thankful for you. I seriously don't even know how I would get through life without my teacher bestie.
No, but really, like we're both in it right now in different ways, as I'm sure virtually everyone is, right? There's something about the holiday season, that puts you in it. There's something about just getting deeper into adulthood that you're just kind of like always in something.
Mm-hmm.
Being parents, being working parents. I'm just kind of like listing all of the things that Amanda and I have going on, just like being part of the world in the 2020s.
I'm also like recognizing the challenges of being part of the sandwich generation, of looking at, raising kids, but also having parents that are transitioning into a different stage of life. There's no like cute, sexy, romantic comedy about that. Nothing in my 90s, 2000s upbringing prepared me for like how really weird and hard your late 30s are going to be.
Yeah, I have to be a grown-up all the time now.
It's so stupid.
I mean, I did before, but now I feel
it. Yeah, right. The honeymoon is far over from so many. I feel like we're both at the stage where there's not a lot of new things starting. So you're just kind of, like you said, in it.
Yeah.
I think that's why we travel so much. Traveling helps us forget.
You guys, yes. Yeah. I like to snuggle up in my home with something cozy, even if it's 95 degrees out, and I just pretend that I'm cold. And that's what helps me decompress and recharge. But today,
we just disappear.
yeah, exactly. You just run away.
Yeah.
You run away and I hide.
Yeah. Oh, good. We'll see.
Yeah,
we're here. We should change the podcast to healthy coping in your late 30s.
Yes. Run away or hide. That's it.
The end.
First episode, last episode, check. Friends, we have a lot to be thankful for. We are thankful for the Brave New Teaching community who come back to this madness every single week, to these shenanigans.
Yes.
And who are so supportive. And like, we cannot express how excited we are to keep bringing more content and new topics and furthering old topics and just like coming out with ideas. We love when our like schedule has a time for us to brainstorm podcast topics. And more often than not, those are having to do with curriculum. They're having to do with lesson planning. They're having to do with instructional strategies and classroom behavior, community strategies, and talking to experts in our field outside of our little bubble of the two of us. Today is none of those things.
Nope.
Not a single one. Because we're also thankful for other random stuff like candles and like baking.
Yes. And snuggly things. I mean, we might be running away, but I also like to hide in a good snuggly thing.
While you're running, hiding.
Depends on how hot. But yes, there's always a good snuggle going on. So we are thankful for things as just people. And we're coming to you today as just Marie and Amanda with, I mean, there's a little bit of classroom content here, but
because we're always teachers. Like, here's the thing is like, even when you're just being like, work-life balance is so different for an educator than it is for, I mean, obviously I only have the one like perspective as an educator, but I feel like it's a lot different for an educator than it is for most other professions or like ways of life out there, because that work-life balance, part of my identity is that I'm an educator. Part of my identity is that being around kids feeds my soul. And so even when I come as just Marie, I'm still going to be talking about kids, whether they're mine or somebody else's. It's still part of my existence.
I went to a wedding this summer and didn't even know it, but I ended up at the teacher table, like a wedding full of strangers. And like, everyone's like, hi, how do you know? All of a sudden there were like 10 teachers sitting at the same table. And I thought, there's just something about this lifestyle and the magnetic, pulls of the universe that that's kind of like our conversation of choice. It's what we just care a lot. But I want everyone here, and Marie and I want everyone here to know that we care about other things. And this is going to be a little bit of a fun, silly episode.
And right now I care to cue the music.
You're listening to Brave New Teaching, and we are so much more than a podcast.
We give teachers the inspiration, support, and tools to challenge the status quo.
I'm Amanda, and I'm a former English teacher from Illinois.
And I'm Marie, and I'm a teacher from Southern California.
Join us at bravenewteaching.com to find out more about our courses, festivals, and get every episode's show notes.
We're so glad you're here. Enjoy the show.
Today, on this very special Thanksgiving episode of Brave New Teaching, we are going to talk about some favorite things. We like a good fall favorite things list episode, sharing some stuff that's just kind of filling us up, or things that we can share with you that we think will be beneficial to you in your life. And just, overall, I feel like we talked about doing favorite things at all seasons. Have we only done fall?
Maybe.
I don't know.
We did a favorite things like a New Year, like an Oprah one in January last year, or 2 years ago, okay. I think. But either way, we're here to do fall because it's Thanksgiving and we're doing fall.
We're diving into fall. So today, friends, we're going to talk to you about 4 categories, if you will. We're going to talk about like our classroom or working favorite things that have to do with our work life. We're going to talk about home. We're going to talk about things that are just for us, for ourselves. And then we're going to talk about treats because treats are the best. I like treats.
I like treats too.
Speaking of treats, this is derailing us a minute. Okay, so I do Target pickup like all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sure many of our listeners also do such things. I do Target pickup. I did whatever. I updated my my app and I did a pickup yesterday. And it now gives me the option of getting a Starbucks cafe order when I come pick up. The evil genius. Because
that's so
I left with a cinnamon dolce latte on top of the order I was getting. And the former student of mine who brought the order to my car was like, I knew you were the Marie Morris on this label. And I was like, I sure am, kiddo. Please give me my latte. Thank you very much. Oh my gosh, it's so good. That's dangerous.
That is dangerous. I don't remember the last time I've shopped in a grocery store since pickup really became a thing. I mean, honestly, I didn't remember how stressful it already was, even before the pandemic germs were stressful. I love picking up groceries.
It's going through the store. I forgot how sweaty I get. So, especially with kids, but even just me, there's a lot to remember.
Well, and we have not talked about this a lot on the podcast, but like I am definitely coming into like my own discovery of adult ADHD things that are going on in my life. And I never really understood what that feeling was when I go through, even when I used to go to the mall in middle school and high school, that I would go through the whole mall. I would feel so overwhelmed that I would either leave with nothing or literally I would return things because I had guilt, buyer's remorse over, that ring from Claire's, and I feel it at the grocery store and Target. When I get in there, I have a mission and a list, but then it's just so much. And like, that's a me problem, but pickup has been a lifesaver.
It's overstimulating. I totally get it. Well, and actually this does transition to what we're talking about because my first item happens to be from Target. So how do you like them apples?
Okay, so tell us about it. So we're going to start with work/classroom.
Oh, yeah, work/classroom, which like truly this is just an item I have with me in my classroom that does not have to do with actual work. It's my turkey coffee mug. It is a mug in the shape of a turkey with like the face of the turkeys on the front of the mug and then like where the tail feathers would be is the handle. It is so ugly that it's cute. And I love it so much. And the reason that it's like a classroom thing for me is because, November, we got a few weeks and then we have a break and then we come back in a few weeks and then it's a December break. Like little kitschy things like my so ugly it's cute turkey mug bring joy to me. It makes my students kind of do that like under their breath laughing, shaking their head thing at me. But like, I know that I'm endearing and I'm like, aren't I adorable? Now let's talk about Shakespeare. It's just fun. It sits on my desk when it's not in use, and it's so ugly that it's cute, and it brings joy to my classroom when it gets really tiring. Like, it can be hard to do all of that.
That is hard, and you need little tchotchke things that bring you joy. I had one I think it was from Target. I had for a long time on my desk was a narwhal. It was like the whale body was the mug, and then of course the little, the horn was at the front, and it was adorable. I love my narwhal mug. I don't know where she is.
You need to find her.
I need to find my girl. Okay, so my classroom favorite thing is, we're past it right now. Unfortunately, it was more of a Halloween related thing, but it's still fall. So whenever you listen to this, hopefully it's still around. I love playing Gimkit, Humans versus Zombies. And Humans versus Zombies is only right in like the Halloween fall season. And then they switch it out and do other things. But if you've never played Gimkit with your students, the pricing model has gotten weird over the last couple of years. So whenever you're listening, it just keeps changing. But like, there's always like a free option. Gimkit's not something that was like a staple. And any of those Kahoots and quizzes and all of those things are, even when I try to use them regularly, I think that they kind of lose their charm anyway. So
they're a little gimmicky. If you use them too often with kids, they kind of go, oh, this again, because that's what teenagers do.
Well, right. That's our crowd. Right. So this one was always great because it was just it was its own specialty item. For those of you who are kind of keeping up with the podcast, but maybe don't know, I have just started a new phase of my teaching career, and that is presenting in-person professional development. And I did one of my first big department sessions. It was actually 5 departments at one institute day. We came back from lunch, and that's what we played for like 30 minutes. When we got back from our lunch break, I had like 150 teachers on Gimkit playing Humans versus Zombies. And we just did I think it was literary greats. Like it was novels and authors. Like that was it. And it was so much fun just to use for staff for a goofy little break. Oh my gosh. If you've never played Gimkit, try it. It's really fun for a handful of times and worth it.
It for that live experience of bonding, right?
Yeah.
So like whenever it's we like to talk about organic community builders that are engaging, that are easy prep, right? Like the materials you needed were a device and access. Like that's it. Yes, absolutely.
That's fine. And you can do it all year long, but the fall version of Humans versus Zombies is Chef's Kiss.
Chef's Kiss. Okay, home. I have a highly coffee themed situation, which surprises nobody. Yeah. Nobody that knows me is surprised. My own brand is the caffeinated classroom. Let's be honest with ourselves, people. And like, I'm an old millennial. So like, I'm that girl that just really likes coffee. So
it's fine. Okay. So what's your thing?
I'm just going to sound so typical. Like open up Instagram, look at white mom from the suburbs, and this is what you're going to get. I got myself a couple months ago, and I've just been using it once a week, a pour over coffee carafe. I love coffee, first of all. I like good, dark coffee, and I like fancy coffee, but I cannot like spend all of that money as often as I want on fancy coffee. So I have to learn how to do it myself. Have you ever made a pour over coffee?
It sounds like a lot of work. No.
It's not that bad, but it is definitely an experience. So basically a pour over coffee is, if you like, look it up, right? It's just a clear carafe. That's kind of it's like an hourglass shape, except the top looks like a cone, and you use the cone filters. And then you just get whatever really good kind or whatever of ground coffee that you want to use. And it's a whole thing. And I also got myself an electric kettle because it's super cute, like a gooseneck kettle that goes with it.
Okay. Okay.
The reason I say all of this is because on Sunday mornings, I can go nice and slowly. I can heat up my water. I can find my favorite mug, whether it's the turkey one or like during Halloween, I was using my cauldron like mug. I wait for the water to boil. I prepare my grounds. It's like a whole experience. And it takes me a good 15 minutes, probably 10-ish minutes to make my cup of coffee. I use my frother to froth up the half and half with a little bit of vanilla. And it's a whole thing. And then I sit down and my kids bounce on the couch next to me, and I try not to spill my gorgeous cup of coffee, but like it smells amazing. It makes me slow down for a little bit. It makes me start my Sunday, because Saturday is kind of a big, crazy things are still happening day. Yes. It makes me start my Sunday on like my own terms, just a little bit more relaxed.
Okay. That sounds like a lot of work for like a beverage, but you do you.
It is. And the work is part of it, because I have to like pay attention to what I'm doing, because basically you like put the little cone filter in, and then you have to wet the filter and then pour out that water because you want to rinse the filter. Then you put in the grounds, and then you have to like pour in a little bit just to wet the grounds to let the coffee bloom, let that drain down. There's something very soothing about it for me. Okay. I get the whole aromatic experience. I'm lighting a candle. Like I am that girl.
Well, I think people will say the same thing about my home thing that I'm thinking about yours, which is that sounds like way too much work. Why bother? Because you get to have your own home thing, and then I get to have mine.
It just brings me unadulterated joy.
Yes. And that's what you need. That's what we need. And that's okay. Totally. It's okay. My home thing is outside. I have taken up quite a bit of a gardening hobby. I jumped in kind of fast and furious, and
you really did. Yes.
I have lots of life dreams that are aside from teaching, one of which is not related to gardening, but I'll just tell you for fun. One of our life dreams is that Luis and I plan to move to Iceland, and we are going to open up a Mexican restaurant. There are only currently that we know of 3 on the entire island. So we're feeling like we could do it really well.
Are you going to have a garden where you use your own produce in the restaurant?
Zinger, because you got to.
Look at me, I know you. Yes.
Right? So there's the import taxes. We're going to like have to only import what we have to import, and I'm going to grow everything else. So anyway, fall in the garden.
I digress. Yes.
We are going to take that. Like we're going to transition. For me, fall home gardening time is when everything is dying, but it's also when I get to start like envisioning next year. And so in the Chicago, I'm a zone 5B climate zone. So if anyone's wondering my zone, we have actually had a pretty extended fall. Stuff is still going over here. Surprisingly, not everything, but some things have really, like we got a late start and it's kind of a late finish now, but we're at a point where now it's cleanup. I'm pulling everything up. And my favorite thing I just started doing this year is I flower farm dahlias. And so flower farming just means I grow them en masse for cut arrangements. And then someday I will be able to sell them to florists and sell them to, wedding venues and places like that when I get better at this. Right now, I'm just growing them as cut flowers, and I bring all summer long, I was taking pictures of the bouquets I would make, and I brought them to my hairstylist and my esthetician and our daycare providers and family and neighbors. And it's just so fun to be able to deliver fresh flowers to people. But my new favorite thing is I've learned how to harvest and keep my dahlia tubers. So a dahlia tuber is like a bulb.
Yeah.
And so because of our climate zone, I can't leave them in the ground. Some climate zones, you can leave them where they're at, but in ours, you have to pull them out. So I'm in the process right now of pulling them, dividing them, labeling them, storing them for winter. And it's like kind of like your coffee pullover situation. It's a lot of work for a plant. But what's really amazing is that the one single tuber that I planted in spring is now 6 or 7.
Isn't that cool?
It's super cool. And it's so not English teaching related that I don't know what it is about sidestepping so far away from like a book and literature, because I love being in a good book. I mean, don't get me wrong, but like my brain feels so, I don't know, energized being in a completely different frame. Like I can't even. It's so awesome. So that's what I'm in the process of doing right now. And it's a chore, but I love it. Like I'm finding a lot of peace in the chore and the work of it. I love it.
It's the process of it. Yeah. And like, again, back to what we were talking about at the very beginning here, like part of that is like settling into adulthood and just being like, I just like the process of doing the things I like to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I'm Amanda and I talk all the time. Like she's got a green thumb and I was looking it up while she was talking. San Diego is a zone 9 or 10. Like it's hot. It's hot. And so like I can leave stuff in the ground. It just may never get water. That's the thing where we're at. But like I can put things on automatic. I enjoy gardening, but I never quite keep up with it. But I like building stuff. I like DIY projects. I like baking. Like that's the kind of thing that it's just the process of it is so rewarding once you get to the point where you realize what you like. Like just figuring out what you like is half of the battle, I feel like, going into adulthood. Yeah. All right, let's dig into some more personal. I mean, the things we've been sharing are already pretty personal, but like things that we do just for ourselves or favorite things that we have just for ourselves. Amanda, do you want to go first on this one?
Okay, so yes, I will.
Okay.
The fall thing for myself that I love the most about fall, and this season kind of goes back to what we started talking about at the beginning. It is a cozy item. This is, if you are living in San Diego, for example, actually, no, maybe I don't. Okay. So maybe I'm going to back up. Maybe it doesn't depend on your climate. It might depend on your cultural experience though. So I am a white suburban girl, grew up. My family is English and German. I married a Mexican Guatemalan. So my in-laws are from Mexico and from Guatemala. And so in this marriage that I'm in, there's a lot of cultural learning that takes place. And one thing that I learned early on is the beauty of the Mexican blanket. And I'm not talking about a serape, not the rainbow multicolored one that you're maybe thinking of. A Mexican blanket is the most gorgeous fleece blanket on planet Earth. They're at fairs, they're at all kinds of like flea markets. You can find them, some better than others, but for the most part, they've got like some kind of really hardcore like wolf picture on there or some kind of pattern, but they are like serious fluff blankets. I'm gonna link in the show notes some of the TikToks and reels that are hilarious. They come with like the Lion King sound of it is time. And you see people like going to their trunk to open it, to like lift the Mexican blanket. It is time for the Mexican blanket. They're huge. They're king size bed size for the most part. Like people put them on their beds. And so it is time is what I want to say for Mexican blanket season. And I don't let anyone touch my Mexican blanket.
That's funny. Where'd you get it? Or who got it for you?
I bought it for myself. At there's a place up in Wisconsin called 7 Mile Fair. And I have one there. And then both of my kids were gifted blankets when they were babies that they don't really care for. They're like, I think that they're a little too heavy.
Well, they're too small for the blanket, right? Like they physically can't handle it. Yeah.
But mine is like, it is on my bed, but I do not share my blanket with anyone. Right. It's just mine. And then, of course, what would go along with that would be my like big stack of books, which I think you're going to talk about books too. But I have a lot of books this fall that have been making me very happy. But I'm happier when the blanket's on.
With the books.
With the books.
Yeah. Okay. What's the thing? What are you reading right now?
Right this minute, I'm reading Solito by Javier Zamora.
Oh, yeah. You told me about that.
I kind of wish I would have finished it before the memoir workshop because I would have done an entire video on it. Maybe someday in the future I will, but it was just released. I think November 1st or 2nd, the book came out. So Javier Zamora, we've talked about him on the podcast before, actually. Right. He's got a couple of collections of poetry that are out. And this memoir is his journey from El Salvador to the US that he wrote he's a little bit younger than us. I think he's in his early 30s right now. But he came to the US when he was 9. So it's such a cool perspective. Like you're in a 9-year-old's point of view doing this immigration journey. And like, it's just so fascinating and beautiful and traumatizing and humanizing, and fingers crossed, we're going to have him on the podcast next year.
That's so cool.
I messaged him on Instagram, and I may or may not be getting in touch with an agent. So fingers crossed. There are a lot of authors that I'm actually trying to get on the podcast for next year. That's a big goal at BNT for 2023. But Solito, Javier Zamora, you have to read it. It would be amazing in a classroom library. It's so good.
Big things are coming, friends. Big things are coming to the podcast.
What about you?
Okay, so I'll start with the books. I have, and in a couple of weeks, later on this calendar year in December, we're going to talk about the things that we read as a year in review. So I will talk more about what I've been reading, but I am just up to my neck in a series right now. If you all are new to the podcast or maybe don't know certain things about me, I am a huge fan of fantasy and sci-fi, dystopia for sure, but especially fantasy. YA fantasy, adult fantasy series, like the big epics that are 800-page books, and there's 8 of them in the series. Like, I love the world building. I like to dive in and learn it all. Yes. It took me a minute to get into it, and now I'm in book 6 or 7 of 8, I think, of a series called the Zodiac Academy series, and it is definitely YA. It's YA in the level, but not YA in content, if that makes sense. Like, I will not suggest this to my students. The first couple of books are fine, but there's language there. There's also just some kind of like, I don't know, trigger-worthy psychological stuff. But like, they're good. They are by, let me make sure I get their names correct. I believe they're sisters. Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti are the authors, and they write them together. And every book comes from multiple perspectives. And every chapter is a different perspective of a different character. And it's just one of those really addicting series. And I will stay up way too late reading them. And even when I get mad at the book and I'm like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. I'm still in it, aren't I? Because I'm in.
You're still there.
Here I am, still here. And then in addition to that, I have this pillow that I got last year when I had surgery on my wrist. And it's a triangle shaped pillow that's meant for a book, and like each of the 3 sides is at a different angle, and it's like a lap pillow for a book or for a tablet or for a different device. And I love it so much that I ended up getting each of my children their own as well. And like, we will sit and read with our pillows and our book lights in bed or like on the couch. It's the nerdiest thing, and I love it so much. But that pillow, like if I lost that, I have been unable to find my pillow and snuck into my child's room while he's sleeping and stolen his.
Yeah, well, like any good parent would. Yeah.
Well, mom needs what mom needs. Listen, I need it, and I love it. I will link it in the show notes because it's like the simplest thing that I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is great. And it's soft, like it's foam. So it doesn't dig into your stomach while you're laying there.
Oh, that's
sliding
nice.
Into sleep like I do. Yes.
Oh, I want a triangle pillow.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's one coming your way. You don't know.
Consider me influenced.
You don't know what I'm into. I don't know.
Or up to. Sneaky over there.
Yeah, I'm very sneaky.
Okay, I want to talk about treats.
Yes, tell me about your treat.
Okay, fall. Okay. Fall treats. These, again, are treats all year round, but they are like especially like I get my taste buds excited for them in the fall.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is all again going to connect back to my husband and I and like our dating history. We met in the fall. We got married in the fall. And so there's a lot of like food connected to those types of experiences. So
you had your first baby in the fall. Yes.
I did. And I think for me, fall equals Oktoberfest. From Mexican blanket to German beer halls, I crave everything German in the fall. Like I can't wait for my first Dunkel, which is a gorgeous beer. If anyone's ever had Dunkelweiss, it's so good. You can get it at any place that serves Hofbrau beer. Dunkel's my drink, and a full liter is what is appropriate to order.
I would be asleep.
No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. Because you'd be hanging out with me.
Okay. All right. You'd be
it's not a drink alone beer. If you were drinking it alone in your office, of course, yeah. Okay, but we'd be hanging out at an Oktoberfest together, dancing and listening to polka music. So, okay. And it's also, so it's Oktoberfest, but for us, it's always also Wisconsin, because we spend a lot of our time in Wisconsin at Oktoberfests, because the Germans spent a lot of time in Wisconsin when they came over here. And there's a lot of German influence. There's some in Illinois too, but we go north. So it also means cheese. We're making a lot of cheese stops for Wisconsin dairy. Cheese is all year round. Do not get this confused.
Don't get it twisted.
But there are specialty stops because there are places in Wisconsin we like to go for certain things. So it's cheese, it's beer, it's pretzels, it's sauerkraut. It's highly marinated in vinegar types of meats. But yeah, the treats definitely, I think, like pretzels, beer and cheese, both soup, melted together, everything. Beer and cheese and bread are my fall treats that I love.
All things malty and cheesy. Yes.
That's the plan for fall for me.
Okay. Mine is the opposite flavor palette. I'm always going to go for sweets. Tell you what. I mean, I like me some good savory. I love some sweets. I have been into doing some overnight bakes for the morning, if you will.
Look at you.
Like cinnamon rolls. I've been doing cinnamon rolls. I started doing cinnamon rolls when did I start? Like the summer, right? I was starting to like make them all the time. Yeah. I told you about this. Don't look at me like crazy.
Yes.
So found a couple recipes. I was like, we'll see. Where you like mix up the dough, let it rise, and then like roll it out, put in the filling, cut them and everything, put them in a pan, and then have them proof overnight, bake them in the morning. I was feeling fine about the recipe. And then one of my favorite food bloggers, Tegan over at Half Baked Harvest.
I love her.
I love her. She's got all of her Thanksgiving stuff. Like her whole Thanksgiving guide is up right now. Like
I've got a lot of things bookmarked, not a lot of things made, but a lot of things bookmarked.
I have been just going through it. And basically because it's overwhelming, she has so many recipes. I just look at some of the latest things that are on her Instagram stories. And one thing that came up was I have to read you the exact title because I made it a couple times now. And like my mom told me she would disown me if I stopped making them. Apple cinnamon rolls with brown butter maple icing.
I saw that reel.
Yes. So good. So the thing that makes them fall-y is I used Honeycrisp apples that are just so good in the fall. Well, and the maple. I mean, that's kind of like all the flavors are happening, fall flavors. The apple tartness with the cinnamon, it was like apple pie in a cinnamon roll, not overly sweet because I actually cut the icing like amount in half so it wasn't overpowering. Oh my gosh. When I tell you that when they were all gone and my 6-year-old was like, can I have another apple cinnamon roll this morning? And I looked at her like next day and I was like, oh honey, we ate them all. She's like, well, when are you making more? Like dead serious. Had no humor behind her eyes, just like, so when's it happening? And I was like, oh my gosh, you're kind of scary. Next weekend. She's like, weekend? And I was like, it's Wednesday. And I was like, honey, I have a job. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, little girl. Please don't hurt me. They're so good. I will definitely put the link in the show notes. And then while you're there, just start perusing. I also made her broccoli cheddar soup the other day. That was delicious. She's got some stuff that like can take a long time, but then she also has some really quick, just delicious meals. And she's a great follow on social media.
She is. And really like the reels are so helpful. If I can see a recipe come together in a reel, I'm like, oh, I can do that. It's not.
I can do that. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm liking that make my own treats because I mean, like I said before, I do like a good expensive latte, but like I also like them so much that I should probably learn how to do it myself.
Well,
So
when you
now I
make your own treats, you typically end up, well, not with coffee, but you have more of them. You don't have to buy them
like dropping off. Like I bring them to my mom and dad. I'll bring them to my sister. I'll drop them off. And then people know when I've been angsty baking.
So angsty baking, that's me angsty gardening. So it's fine. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
All
Just
right.
chopping dahlias left and right.
There we are.
Okay.
Friends, we hope that we have inspired you maybe to try some new things or to even reflect on your favorite things in this season that are just bringing you joy, because that is what they should do. Things that make you happy should just be acknowledged for bringing you joy. We all deserve a little bit of joy every day.
P.S. I think Marie and I, one of the things we try to do on this podcast is be transparent and authentic and genuine with you, and to kind of bring this all full circle. Although this episode felt a bit like a tangent, this is exactly how both of us teach. I absolutely have days where we go completely off book, and I will talk about my Mexican blanket for 20 minutes. And you know what? Kids think, oh, tangent. But at the same time, it's classroom community. We're bonding. We're having these moments that create these kind of like little memories of our connections. And we hope that we're doing the same with you. We don't want to just be two bodies, delivering curriculum information to you that you're just supposed to believe. I mean, we're real people too. And we want you to get to know us. We want you to be part of the Brave New Teaching community.
Because once you take the little tangent break, getting back into the like main meat of the unit or whatever it's refreshing. Like you're back in and you're ready to think, like if we're bringing it to a classroom or even just here, it's addressing all of those other parts of us that make us whole people and educators all at the same time. We can't wait to just like hang out more. It's our favorite.
Yes, we are not robots. We are people. We are your people. And we are so thankful that we were in your earbuds today.
Absolutely. And again, if you're listening to us on the day this comes out, happy American Thanksgiving. If you're listening to it another day, happy day in the world. And with that, we're gonna bid you adieu. Thank you so much for listening and listening to my singing.
Wow, it was a treat, a true gift.
Have a wonderful day. Have a great week at school next week, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thanks again for listening to Brave New Teaching.
We'd love to keep the conversation going over on Instagram.
And while you're there, check out the links in our bio for the most up-to-date events going on in the Brave New Teaching community.
Thanks for being here and have a great week at school.